Louder with Crowder Studios. Protected exclusively by Walther. And Hopper.
Neglected by the system. In a world of deplatforming and bogus hate speech guidelines.
Ain't nobody care about us.
Until one teacher
So why should we even try and fight it, Holmes?
changed everything.
Because there's nothing cool about letting them silence you.
As I watch all the channels that are going through hell, I have to ask all
Because in my class, free speech is its own reward, homie.
And you don't have to go through life a victim. That's a choice.
You come and live in my neighborhood for 1 week, and then you tell me if you got a
I'm the
choice.
kind of G that little YouTube wanna f with till I serve them in the night. Half Asian in the street light.
This is the life. This is the life.
You have to rage against the dying of the light.
Damn it, you promised you'd fight back. If Matt's life is going to be worth a damn, you better give me your best. I need your best!
Some of us don't have that kind of cash just laying around like USA.
And your friend 6 feet under already made theirs, damn it! When I was your age, we didn't have Mug Club. We didn't have anything like Mug Club. I would have killed for Mug Club, but we have it now. We have it now because it's 2016, damn it. It is 2016.
Pero es el 2018.
Shut the fuck up, Jorge.
This 2018. Dangerous mugs.
That's the guy who rolled the dice by having a terrorist in his studio. And
Yeah.
it came up, is it Snake Eyes? What is Snake Eyes bad? I think Snake Eyes are good.
Depends on the game.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's Thursday, it's the Sound of the Weekend. Thank you so much for being here. And like I was saying, in third chair today, we have Mahmoud Al-Mahmoud, Director of Communications and Public Relations for ISIS. I
Good to
believe.
see you, Stephen.
Glad to have you back.
Good to see you here. We hope that you see the softer side of ISIS.
I will do my best.
Today I'm here to kill you with kindness.
I see what you did there. I see, but and also actually kill me, I believe. Yeah.
Well, you know, eventually.
Eventually.
It's a long show.
These
It's a
are
long
givens.
show.
He's just trying to deal with the
Thursday.
nuance. And then we have Larry the Cable Guy on the show today because someone sent a bomb.
Yeah.
And they thought it was one of your flags. It turned out to be a Get Her Done flag. Did you see that in the
No,
news?
I didn't.
Yeah.
This one I don't know. We use Arabic.
You guys say that all the time. I don't know when to believe you.
Yeah, well, that could be what
we
ISIS
take
is.
credit for it.
Well,
We're like
afterwards.
a frat boy who farts. We take credit immediately.
G. Morgan Jr. didn't bring any wine today,
No,
I guess.
I'm protesting.
Well, that's terrible.
I don't know what, but
Okay, protesting all the things. And Quarter Black, of course, producing for us. So
Follow me
question
on
of
Black
the day. There's no Black Twitter. It's called World Star. The question of the day, who got it worse? Tucker Carlson or Jim Acosta?
right.
And do you think either of them had it coming? Because I think the answer might tell us who you are. Are you really offended by the Jim Acosta scenario? Is there an equivalent? I've been seeing this on Twitter. People are like, well, you think it's okay to revoke Jim Acosta's press badge, so then it's okay to do the kill the beast there at Tucker Carlson's house, ramming down his oak door. I think it's remarkable. Listen, of course, right off the bat, I want to address the Thousand Oaks shooting. At the time of this taping, we don't know exactly what's happened. I lived in Moore Park for a while out there in Simi Valley, close to Thousand Oaks. Beautiful, great people. So my heart goes out to them. Not enough info to really talk about it. And I don't really want to go into the gun control issue right now. I used to say it's a winning issue for the right. I actually recant. It's won.
Done.
They make no headway on gun control when these issues happen. So it's like feeding a tumor. Just let it die.
Just don't look.
Yeah. What is the ISIS opinion on American gun control?
You know, we are going to just sit with this one out. Good. Guns, you know, if you guys have guns, you want to shoot each other with guns, I don't see why we're going to stop it.
Okay. Yes.
Ouch.
He's not
Wow.
a nice person. I don't know about the killing with kindness. All right. Leading us before that, you good, Jill? Yeah. What was this? You're doing this with your lips
I
there.
had a thing.
Oh, okay. It almost
It's like a baseball rap.
Leading the news, I guess, today, the least surprising news of the week. Jim Acosta finally had his White House press credentials pulled. The decision came after the now, of course, notorious standoff between him and President Donald Trump during press conference Wednesday when he wouldn't give the microphone back to an intern. Now, of course, listen, on the right, or most on the right, see this as a given, while those on the left see this as Donald Trump driving his final nail into the coffin of modern journalism.
Well, I just heard the news today. It seems my life is gonna change. Wide open under the sunlight.
We do not have the rights to that song, by the way, but no one does, and it's like no one really cares anymore. Yeah.
Look, the most dangerous place to be is between Jim Acosta and a news camera, right? So when he's doing reporting. But at the same time, when Trump said to him, like, you're a despicable person.
Did you
I just channeled Obama.
Have you still quit caffeine? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to give you one more chance to wake up here, G. Morgan.
No,
everyone in the studio. Come on, let's get this confusing Obama. Yeah, let's do the West Side Story.
We're not doing West Side Story. I refuse to do West Side Story.
All right.
So when Trump said that he was a despicable person, right? When he said he was a despicable person, I was like, you kind of crossed the line there. Yeah, look, reporters are supposed to be jerks sometimes. You don't get mad at them for that. You can pull their credentials, and he can go back there. He just doesn't have a hard pass. They have to reissue it now, so no big deal, right? I think it's.
I thought it was perfect, and I'm not necessarily a huge Donald Trump, but I loved where he goes. Why did you call the caravan an invasion? Well, that's what I think. That's how I see it. I see it as an invasion. He goes, well, do you think it was inflammatory? No. That's called a difference of opinion. Okay, he backed it up 0.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, backed off 0. He said, now you've got it to me. You've got it. It's like contagious. What do you have that? Is it that bug that you pick up at the toilet seat Joe Rogan was talking about?
Is it idiocracy?
I don't know. I don't know. You still doing well there, Mahmoud? You seem confused.
Yeah, I just want to say that none of this stuff with the drama in the press room would happen if Gary Johnson won.
That's true.
You guys, see, this is what you guys. You don't have free press. You don't have any of these issues, right? People just get shot.
Well, yeah, sadly, but I'm just saying, Johnson president, we're not talking about this. It's going to be just a nice, happy place.
Mostly because he's a latent homosexual, and that's not say he couldn't hold office. And we'll talk about this later. We're doing a Vox rebuttal because ours was so fun this week, where they say more women need to be nominated because. But Gary Johnson always seemed very gay to me. I don't know why. You can comment. Let me know what you think.
I don't know, but about that. But it is about time that America elects a president who doesn't know where Aleppo is. That's speaking from the heart.
All right, and more serious news. That would be good cover for you.
Advantageous.
That is very selfish. I see what you did. It's almost as though you have ulterior motives. More serious news, of course, this week. Another man was injured by yet another exploding bottle of Corona. This has been going on for a while. This is actually the third man. I have the third man in recent months to say a Corona bottle exploded while he was handling it, causing a gruesome injury. The quote is, he said, it's like they're selling glass hand grenades. Now, there's been no official explanation. See, you,
screw you, it wasn't me.
Stop being so contentious. There hasn't been an official explanation from Corona as of yet, but we should note that authorities actually have been suspecting foul play, as I always have. Yeah. See.
Whoa.
I was wrong about you, alcohol.
I see.
You found a kindred spirit, have you?
I'm more of a Bud Light Lime guy.
Oh my gosh. Look,
said the douche. Go ahead.
I kind of laugh a little bit at this, and I'm sorry. This may be like the dark side of humor for me. I kind of think if we just step back, let the Corona thing take its course, all the Corona drinkers will be gone. We won't have to worry about it a little bit. If you drink Corona, this might be just it's sort
of like vaping batteries.
Yeah, exactly.
When it explodes.
We just step back and go,
let's just let nature take its course here. I really would have thought, you wouldn't think the explosion. You would think it's Mexican tap water would be the high risk factor there.
Well, that's a good point, actually.
Very good, yeah. Montezuma's revenge, I think, is something that's a real thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I looked like you were about to say something there,
nope.
But I never know because you're terroristy, a little shifty.
No, I was just up to something in my mind.
So shifty.
Creative.
All right, turning to big tech, the YouTube gamer Shirako. Am I saying that right? Shirako? Shirako?
Why would you ask me
By the
about
way,
gamers?
I want this man to be a guest on the show. So Shirako,
get in here.
Shirako, however it's pronounced.
Dude.
Please, we would welcome you. He had his channel deleted for sharing a clip in which he fed a suffragette feminist to an alligator in the latest Red Dead Redemption 2 game. You know, I can't really do it justice. Let's just watch the clip. This is what got him banned here on YouTube.
Let me vote.
All right.
It's a national disgrace. There'll be no more wars, no hunger, no stupidity. We'll elect a woman president within the first 10 years, of course. You see, men are such
Don't worry, it's coming,
judgmental
guys.
prigs. You need us women to help straighten you out.
Jeez.
Get the lasso.
Get out of here.
There you go.
I've never played this game, but when I was watching as a non-gamer,
I can't stop playing this game.
hold on, no, it gets
better.
It gets way worse.
Oh no.
I will defend myself, you hear?
No, you won't.
No, look at this. Look at she's
Drowning.
Wait, so what did she
Hold on,
shoplift?
hold on.
Get better.
this is
That'll leave a mark.
No. That alligator is in ketosis, I'm sure.
High protein
I
diet.
had not played this game.
And I love this game so much.
It's true. Then his YouTube channel was reinstated.
Yeah.
And I swear he actually came back in the very first video, or one of the first videos. It's called Deporting a Mexican, and he played a game, another thing in Red Dead Redemption. So this guy just doesn't care. And it's a good. There's a big, strong debate
love
going
this
on in the
guy.
gaming community because if this is a violation of guidelines on YouTube, then everything is a violation of guidelines on YouTube. Because if you do you have any idea how many people you kill in these games, and most of them are men?
That's all you do.
You blow people's brains out. You can't. If you are starting to police what people do in video games, we are screwed because every video game out there that's popular has stuff like that in it,
That's
or at least the
true.
ability to do stuff like that.
They said it promotes violence. I'm like, what game that's fun doesn't?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know, racing
This is
games,
a creative outlet. For
racing
us.
games.
no, that's violence.
You ram into people.
Tetris, little Puyo
I
Pop.
don't know.
Hey, why don't you come
Little
into
kudo in
2018,
with the
all right?
helicopter going through the maze.
Oh, good lord.
No.
No, that's
No.
true. That's not very violent. But
He's like, in our countries that we represent, that's actually
Let him
normal.
say what he's saying, Mr. Obama. What were you about to say there?
well, I was going to express the plight of the turtles from the Mario Brothers. You know, you stomp on the turtles like a bunch of savages. We would never play such a game.
No.
No.
Stomp on those turtles.
What do you do with the turtles there in Syria?
We don't have turtles. I've never seen a turtle there.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if somebody ate them all, but
That would be it. So it'd be a novelty. We should next time we have you in studio, we should show you the turtles.
I would
here.
love to
Yeah.
see a turtle. I would love to go to the San Diego Zoo if that's down the street or something. I don't know.
No, we're nowhere near. Yeah. A little bit
So,
bigger
you
land
know, when you're a
mass. than
foreign
Syria.
country, you think everything's close.
I know.
20-minute
You know,
drive.
I know. Yeah, it's like people with Canada. They have no
Oh my
idea that
gosh.
British Columbia is nowhere near Montreal. Finally, in sadder news, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was actually hospitalized for fracturing some ribs in a fall.
bad.
According to the statement, Ginsburg, 85, experienced discomfort after she was going home. Following the fall, was admitted to George Washington University Thursday morning for observation and treatment. And actually, a lot of people. An EMT on the scene is a Mug Club member and snuck us a video of the justice before bringing her to the hospital.
Help! I've fallen, and I can't protect Roe v. Wade.
It almost seems like that's distasteful.
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
Just a little.
What are you
That's
talking about? That
cold,
was
man.
fact.
That's
That was real footage.
Suddenly, though, by the way, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the GOP Senate pickup seemed like a little bit of a bigger win.
Yeah,
Right? This is one thing we're talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Have you seen the documentary on Netflix? They've been trying so hard for so long to
where
convince us that
she's,
she's
like,
the fit
weightlifting?
rapping grandma. And I remember Matt Damon talking about, I want to see the actuary tables in John McCain because there's a very strong chance that he dies and Sarah Palin is president. With Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Bernie Sanders, it doesn't matter all of a
They're
sudden.
just holding out. Like, what is it? Somebody said that it was like this ghoulish death watch, basically, for the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I can't remember who's
It was Herman Cain.
Shapiro or somebody. Or
No, it was Herman Cain.
said that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely that.
It was
Just
Mr. 999.
That was a good
Gotti's
plan.
Pizza.
It was a good plan.
It was a solid plan.
So I have a serious question for you. Like, I have a big problem with lifetime appointments for Supreme Court justices for stuff just like this. We get to basically sit and watch people wither away.
So they can't use it to profiteer off hover-round commercials?
Well, that's also true. And, self-lubricating catheters. That
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah.
But I do have a
Those are
problem with
important.
lifetime appointments. I mean, I don't think that Supreme Court justices should be lifetime appointments. I think they should have a term or something where if they get too old, we've got a situation where she's not able to really do the job. She's not able to walk apparently
She's
and not
asleep
fall,
half the time.
right? Asleep half the time. We shouldn't
Always
have this person up there just dying in front of everybody. We should let them go off gracefully.
I don't know that I agree, but actually,
whoa. I mean,
we're receiving word actually right now that the notorious Ruth Bader Ginsburg's rib is actually not doing so well. Yeah.
Stream down my face with arms wide open under the sunlight.
Gerald seems surprised.
Yeah. I should.
Almost as though he didn't read the
Shouldn't have been
show
surprised.
today at all.
Wait, there's a show?
Oh, Lord. The terrorist.
He came
knows where
prepared.
we are. How you doing there, Mahmood?
this is live, right?
Yeah, there are no second chances.
Right,
here.
yeah. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So you're upset about lifetime appointments? Is that what I want you to finish?
That's
your point.
pretty much. That's a serious point for me, though.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I really don't think.
Moving on to the Vox rebuttal. In the wake
every
of
time!
in the wake.
Move the football right as I kick.
Okay, no. But you obviously had some opinions on this, and I had you
did,
watch
yes.
this before you came on the show. Remember, I sent you this morning. I said, "Hey, we're going to be talking about this on air."
Yes, I watched this on my Kindle Fire.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Fire, really? I don't think you guys should do anything with fire in the names. Okay, burning people alive. It just kind of brings up bad memories.
I don't know.
for
I think
us.
that's a brand.
That's an American's
cool
attempt
branding,
at a
yeah.
No,
at
but
a
you
pun.
shouldn't
It's their
have
brand.
it. You should. It's appropriation.
That's I could see your point. I could see your point.
I don't see his point at all. You don't have to concede any territory to him.
I'm going to use it.
The terrorist is being nicer to me than you.
He is. He is. I have no problem with it. Oh, you can. By the way, did you see the crazy super fan who really loved you there at U of M?
I did. She
No, you
said-
didn't.
I did too. I watched.
I made it up.
No, I watched.
There
it.
is not one.
She said, "I'm here for Gene
no, she
Morgan
was dressed
Jr. I
as
wanna
Minnie
be
Mouse.
clear.
She was very she was a fan. I just
I was gone
that
by
you knew
then.
what we were talking about half the time. In the wake of the election,
I'm like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg of this show.
Vox. No, because if she falls asleep, you can snicker and make jokes about her, but you're still awake, so we can't make fun of you until you leave. No, I love.
I know. I'm kidding.
And you didn't wear the same colored shirt as I wore today. Which
Gosh,
is
we
Yeah,
were on a streak
finally.
of like
That
3 days
would've
in a
been
row,
nice.
randomly.
We should coordinate.
well, now he stole Black's thunder.
Oh, I did. No, come on. That's not even.
Blue?
I'm partially colorblind. That's not the same color.
I think Garrett is a quarter black, and then the other 3/4 is Dickie Greenleaf with the short sleeve button shirt.
I'll own it.
Whatever the mixture is, it's very white.
So-
is what we end up with.
I mean, it's 3/4.
We talked about Jim Acosta, we talked about Tucker Carlson, but let's kind of get into the realm here of identity politics in the wake of the blue wave, as it's been called, I guess, by the left. It's like we said, see yesterday's analysis. Win some, lose some. That's really what the election was. But in the wake of these elections, people have tried to read into something I think that isn't there exactly, and then push agendas that don't make sense. So laying the groundwork there, enter Vox's latest video telling us all that we need to vote in more women because...
The 2018 midterms were huge for women candidates. A total of 273 women were on the ballot in the 2018 midterms, representing both parties. Now compare that to the past 5 elections. That's a big jump in women candidates vying for office. So women must be pretty well represented in the US government now, right? Not exactly.
Okay, so here comes the doom and gloom. First off, before we get to rebutting this, is there not one straight male capable of narration in all of the Vox studios?
Nope.
Not one? Not one?
None of them.
What's the hiring process like there? Are you gay? Check yes or yes.
Do you sound effeminate?
And then in it,
deal.
Right.
You have a list.
An add-on is
put it on.
Latino.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the opposite of when you purchase a gun, which, by the way, I'm not one who sees racism under every rock, but when you go to purchase a firearm, it has Caucasian, black, and then it has
Right.
Latino, and then afterwards it has non-Latino. You have to check the box.
Specify.
Non-Latino, specifically singles out. Doesn't say non-black,
How does that work?
Non-Latino. I assume because of illegality of citizenship. Let's move on to the first.
This is a trick question.
No, it really is. That
People that are
being said,
illegal? Oh, that's
seriously,
me.
Vox, just one. You mustn't be afraid to expand your horizons. I'm sure there's a straight old white guy there somewhere, probably the
Diversity.
one controlling the purse strings. Find him, have him narrate the next video. All right, let's move on to the clips.
The share of women in the House and Senate has increased over time, but it's still
Right.
well below the share of women in the US population. And if you dig deeper, Congress looks even less representative. Women of color make up 18% of the US population, but before the 2018 midterms, they accounted for just 7% of Congress.
It's so boring.
So, by the way, your mic is on while the clips are going. Just so you know, he gets quite like he thinks. No, you can be. You're not muted because I'm sure everyone would love to hear your commentary on what Vox is doing,
or about women in y'all's culture. Typically, right? That's always going well.
I'm
this is
sorry.
a real minefield.
I was gonna fall asleep.
Yeah.
It's like and that music,
like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and then crack a couple. You wake up like, what happened to my ribs?
They elect women here?
I don't know. Could you imagine a dinner with Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Bernie Sanders? I don't have it. It would just be the words "what" for 20 minutes, like if you had a trans. What? You filthy bitch! That's what Bernie Sanders. That's what he says. That's what he calls her. His pet. It's my pet name.
It's a term of endearment.
I call her my filthy bitch. It's a term of endearment, really. She doesn't like it much. So I don't understand the Vox video here. Women make up 50% of the population, only 9%. They only make up, 9% of construction workers?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, and they voted for these people, right? The women vote here.
Yes.
They vote more.
They can vote.
This is not like some advanced country where that is not the case.
No.
It is. They voted. No. This is who they voted for.
We did because not enough suffragists were fed to crocodiles.
No, that's true.
So we got to the point now where everyone can vote.
One at a time, okay?
So 50, they're like 50% of the population of women, but they only make up this percentage. Yeah, okay, they make up 9% of construction, but they make up 75% of education and health services, right? This is something people go into different fields. Gender, I think we have an overlay here from the Bureau and Labor Statistics. Since when does every job have to represent a mirror image of the census? Of the United States demographics. You know what else, by the way, doesn't mirror the full 18% they talk about the women of color?
Yeah.
Like 18% women of okay. Only 30% of black women have high school degrees. 14% have college degrees. So it would stand to reason that they don't all make it to the highest levels of government, though 68.5% do make it to the highest levels of the WNBA. Yeah.
Well, look, if Fox is going to be calling people out, why don't they have a little bit more diversity on their staff instead of gay, lispy, Latino males?
That is a very good point.
That's like 97% of their workforce.
Except I can't confirm that this guy was Latino.
Oh.
I can just pretty much confirm that he's gay. And
Well, I was including
It's not like gaydar. Well, I guess Sonar would be, yeah, Sonar is
pretty close.
Yeah, but
I'd be really surprised.
But gaydar is usually when they're looking and they're saying gaydar, so that's not.
Well, we're hearing, so that's whatever.
That's like
you're looking.
That's like queer flicks.
Gay vibes are coming back to you.
Right.
You're looking. Gay vibes are coming back. That's why.
I mean, what's the over/under on this?
I don't understand. Again, they're just picking something to complain about and saying, "Oh, well, they represent this number of the population, so they should represent this percentage of the electorate." Why? I don't know why. And by the way, it changes every single year from straight male to gay, not at Fox, but from straight male to gay male, from white to black, from male to female. I mean, you could follow a district, you could follow over the last 30 years, and you would find something different. And you certainly would find some diversity of thought, unless it's in California or in New York. Right. But that's really what we should be talking about here. But again, Vox just, you need to vote for more women because. Well, why? They make up 50% of the population. Okay. Need I say more? Yes, you do. Yes, we're expecting more.
I thought the argument was over. Well, no, they've actually done studies in the most egalitarian countries in the world. These gender gaps actually spread out further. So in places where they have the most opportunity, the most equality, women tend to segregate themselves in careers and fields and industries more so than we see now. So it's absolutely scientifically disproven.
Wait, what was that again?
So if you say 75% of females are in this workforce and there's only 10% over here as engineers, in the most equal societies in the world, that gap is actually larger. It doesn't get narrow, which is what you would expect, because they would have more opportunities, they're treated more equally, and it doesn't narrow at all. It actually gets larger because people self-select out of these things most of the time.
Well, we have to move on from women and black women to the more important marginalized
pressing issue.
Du jour. Next clip.
LGBT women make up about 2.5% of the U.S. population.
Don't buy it!
But there are only 2 openly LGBT women in Congress.
Greater than sign.
That's less than 1%.
Screwed it up.
By the way, I just love how they toss in the T and just... most of the LGBT, let's be honest, it's like 90% G. And then so we're saying 2.5%. No, first off, they're trying to say it's 5% of the population is gay, 5 point something. No, it's not. They've just realized that if they keep bumping up the percentage, that people will become more embracing of the policies and the cultural ramifications. But only 2, maybe because it's weird.
I challenge anybody to take a melatonin and try to make it through this video. It is literally so boring.
Yes,
Well, the guy's voice is pretty monotone too.
Oh,
That's
my
why.
gosh.
That's why I'm looking for everyone here to help snap it up. I've got to deliver the information. I need you guys. I need to play straight man. Probably because it's weird, right? We had the first transgender mayor of a Texas town on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? The whole time I was listening, it was very respectful, and we sat there and we talked about sort of. We went back, I think, to Judith Butler, to Simone de Beauvoir. We talked about gender theory, but the whole time I'm just going in my head. This is weird. This is weird. This is weird. This is weird. This is weird.
That's what I did when I watched it.
It was very, very bizarre. And most people probably go, now, doesn't mean that you're less than, doesn't mean that I think you should be the victim of a hate crime, but it means that if somebody is really weird, a good example, Leslie in Austin. People remember him, he used to wear short shorts, you see his butt cheeks. He passed away, it was really sad. He was kind of like an Austin icon, right? He was, not, I don't know if he was homeless, there was a legend kind of surrounding him. The point is, he was weird. But people liked him, they embraced him, probably wouldn't want him in the United States Senate. That's why you've only got
wouldn't
two.
have appreciated the dress code. So.
I've
Don't
not
be a
met
bigot.
Leslie.
You've not met Leslie?
No.
Every town
but-
has a Leslie.
Okay. This is it.
new to
This
our
is an
culture.
interesting country.
By the way, hey, if you're not a Mug Club member, you can watch the show every single night. Hit the notification bell if you're subscribed on YouTube, because subscriptions don't show up in your subscription box anymore. And we do recommend, of course, that you join Mug Club unless you want the whole show to go away. And we have an upcoming Change My Mind. We might be back at TCU on Monday, or we might be back there Tuesday and broadcast live. Who knows, TCU? Who knows? You thought you'd run us out in the rail, but that's coming soon.
It is on, baby.
I will say that someone might have a case of the Mondays. All right, next clip.
Take a look at this chart
no.
showing what 2018 congressional candidates spent time talking about. Women were much more likely than men to discuss issues like education, climate change, and minimum wage.
And they're 200% more likely to be blindsided by a third world war because national security was nowhere on that list. It was nowhere to be found. First off, the sleight of hand, you said, like, they're more likely to talk about these issues, which,
right.
Okay, first off, you're really trying to straddle the fence here, Vox. Like, they're more likely to have mentioned these issues at one point, according to the Vox chart. Well, who gives a rat's ass? But let's go with, okay, these are the issues that matter most to women. Climate change, education, minimum wage? What? You think this is going to convince everyone who's watching? You think a chart saying that women tend to care, not about national security, not about the primary purpose of government, keeping its citizens safe, that the fact that they couldn't care less, that's going to, I guess, appeal to more voters? I am dumb. I shouldn't be dumb. I shouldn't say I'm surprised or dumbfounded. I'm just disappointed.
Well, look, I understand that politicians are going to pander to their audience and they're going to talk about the things that are important to them. But if I see climate change and there's 50-some-odd% of women talking about it and not saying it's a hoax, I'm not voting for that person, or at least challenging it as being the 95 or 98% of all scientists agree kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if I see that on somebody's talking points, I'm like, I don't know if you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're just trying to drum up votes.
But that's actually code for you're going to hit her, which I don't support.
Oh.
We tried to convince people with pie charts and stuff like that initially at the beginning.
With ISIS?
Yeah.
Not that effective.
No.
Not that effective.
That you're a religion of peace, or that, you know.
Well, we started. Hey, but you know who told me that? President Ross Perot.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, so he won in y'all's country, huh?
Today is just a third-party extravaganza. Gary Johnson and Ross Perot.
He didn't have an answer.
He's very niche with his American political interests. All right, let's go to the next clip.
There's even evidence that women make better lawmakers.
Oh.
One study found
why?
that female lawmakers bring in 9% more federal spending for their
How is that better?
constituents than their male counterparts.
What?
And that's on top of the fact that women lawmakers sponsor more bills than male legislators.
So, in case you're confused, yeah, Vox is saying that women make better lawmakers exclusively because they increase federal spending and bureaucracy and red tape.
Isn't that bad?
This is also,
Okay.
by the way, snakes make better pets because, little known fact, they're more likely to bite. You think this is a selling point?
And potentially kill you with venom.
The Brazilian wandering spider is great to keep in your tray because it causes priapism. You mean a deathly boner?
Boner spider.
Yeah,
that's
but
right.
when you say it that way, you say it like it's a bad thing. It's a perfect example of Vox right here, just assuming that everyone consuming any and all media is a far leftist. And this is why I just think there's this divide. It's not even because of people obviously trying to break down Tucker Carlson's door or Antifa dragging people out of cars and beating them up. It's because of an out-of-touchedness, a blind spot that is growing so large. I think they sat around and said, yeah, we really need to get people to vote for more women. Yeah, let's tell them that they spend more and create more bills. And they care about climate change and not the military.
How's that not sexist?
We'll
that
be
women
aces.
spend more? Isn't that the thing with
This is
shopping?
the thing. Okay,
Is that
women
what you
in
think they
government.
are?
All right, listen, I'll hear you out. I'll hear your case. Maybe there's a case to be made here. Fine. But then their reasoning is the opposite of that. Next clip.
This success might actually help explain why women are less likely to run for office than men in the first place. Many women underestimate their qualifications and perceive gender bias
They're all
among
kinda big in
voters,
that.
which discourages them
Why are
from
they all
running.
fat?
Because of these hurdles, only the most talented and ambitious women seek office.
Okay.
These women who were elected during the 2018 midterms will help inspire other women to run for office in the future. And as more women join government, their representation will become more and more normalized. And eventually, a video like this won't even be necessary.
It's not necessary. Yeah.
Thank
It's
God.
not
it won't.
necessary now.
Hallelujah.
At all. Yeah. Well, it's almost like your job is to make Vox fun, but instead you sort of just said, let's let Steven take this one. I have the impossible task. I'm trying to
I'm just
educate
mad at you
on
for making
Vox.
me watch Vox videos.
I know,
again.
but you complain about it
Still had to
every
cut 'em.
day. Play another song, man.
Look,
What were
it's
we
all
about
I
to say?
got. It's
What were we
all
about
I
to say?
got. Well, look, I wish they would have been supportive of women candidates. I don't know, maybe when Sarah Palin was running as the first vice presidential candidate, and absolutely zero.
No, she was, but she was a whore. That's what I heard. That's what I heard them
everybody
say,
said.
right?
They
Yeah.
said
Allegedly.
She was,
Allegedly,
now, I'll give
yeah.
you this. Like, Sarah Palin's a little quirky for sure, but they said
No,
she
hold on a
was an
second.
idiot.
Please
little?
know that was satire. Gerald
Yes,
took what I
of
said. He's
course.
like, I'll give it to you. No, don't give it to me. I don't want you to give it to me.
you're gonna get
that was
letters.
satire. I do not
She
think
doesn't-
Sarah Palin. I've met the woman. I've spent time with
Not
her
a whore.
husband.
She's not a whore. okay?
Good Lord.
Janice Rossi is a whore.
You will hang people up to dry without even realizing it. It'll be sarcasm, and he will quote you and hand this quote to your enemies.
So Steven said she's a whore. Fine. I don't know her that well.
Go ahead and make your point completely irrespective of mine. Go.
Sarah Palin's a whore. Got it. She's not a whore, obviously. But I wish that the support would have been there. I mean, the only thing that people could do when she was running for president was make fun of her. I thought that we would have the kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I thought if there was going to be a woman card, something that got women to go out and vote in a way that they hadn't for Republicans in a long time, it would have been the first vice presidential candidate that was a woman, that was a female. And it wasn't. The exact opposite thing happened.
Yeah, you know why?
All of-
Because she wasn't super qualified, and because
No, I
John
agree
McCain
with
wasn't
that.
a great candidate.
He was
And
horrible,
Republican
too.
women. This is the important. Republican women actually care about qualifications and actually care if you represent their
course.
values. Now that being said, I think Sarah Palin would have made a better vice president than Joe Biden.
Yes.
namely because she doesn't, molest biker children.
But on the
I
other
think
side, Cortez, she's not qualified.
Yeah.
no,
Like,
she.
come
But that's
on.
that's
Oh.
the point.
No, that they're supporting
all.
her.
Yes, but that's the point. It's the same. It's the same problem you have with any conservative, with any Republican. It's like herding cats. I think it was actually Thomas Sowell who said that, because they're independent thinkers. They don't just support
Yeah.
the person in the
Yeah,
ticket
yeah.
no matter what. Republican women didn't say, "Hold on, vagina buddies forever." It's like a BFF locket.
That would be weird.
But that's what they do with Cortez.
Yeah,
All the
that's
women. It
true.
doesn't matter that she's a crazy bug-eyed socialist. They don't care. Out of the examples even that they use in there, I think they have Senator Marsha Blackburn, staunch conservative, I think led the investigation into Planned Parenthood. Remember the sale of baby parts, those videos?
Yeah.
And then
Great.
another one of those examples is that Omar lady, who is an extreme leftist Muslim, which might seem almost to be an oxymoron, loves abortion, hates Israel, and is opposed to cutting insurance payments of convicted terrorists. You guys, is she
Wow.
popular over there, Omar?
Yeah, I have the bumper sticker on my camel.
Next to Gary Johnson and Ross Perot.
You know it.
That camel's full of stickers, huh?
The camel's not very happy about it, I'll be honest with you.
Just don't
Especially
walk
because
in
he used a
important
nail.
holes.
They don't have stick. They don't have stick technology over there in Syria. I don't think so.
We're working it out.
Are you working it out? It really is remarkable to me, the identity politics that they play with women. They assume that everyone is going to care just because someone is a woman and running on their ticket. And if you don't, you should care now. Well, hold on, why? Because
Vagina.
you've convinced me. It's like they don't even go out and create content that's designed to convince anybody because it assumes everybody agrees with them. You can be a woman and be opposed to abortion, or at least you can be a woman and be opposed to abortion at 26 weeks, like in Colorado. Yeah. You can be a woman, by the way. You can have tits and not want to pay a 52% income tax. How about that?
Reasonable.
Right? You can have ovary, or you can have a uterus, and you know what? actually want a strong national defense. You can be slightly more feminine. You can have wider birthing hips and not want 4,000 people coming from the Honduras in a caravan, invading your country, not wanting them showing up, knocking on the door and getting right in. You can be a woman and actually think all of these things. You can hold all of these values dear. But the left wants to, no, hold on a second. If you have oversized mammaries, I think men actually have mammaries. Apparently Steven Seagal's lactated. That was actually, I read a story about that.
serious?
Men apparently can lactate, but are the mammaries larger on women? Is that what makes a breast?
I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure of the biology. The point is breasts. The point is you can have breasts, a vagina, and a uterus, and have your own point of view, except in the world according to Vox. But this is the kind of stuff that keeps them up at night, and we have more important things to deal with.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yes.
That,
Yes.
What the hell is that? I don't think you're going to be back, Mahmoud El Mahmoud. I feel uncomfortable with you here.
He's gone to see 72 virgin daiquiris.
That sucks.
He's going to see 72 limes.
Yeah.
I think really 72 just means countless in your culture, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
All right, listen, we have to get going. We have Larry the Cable Guy coming up after this, and Mahmoud El Mahmoud, everybody. I don't know.
I'll let you back on this campus.
I just want to, laugh about things every night, but
God bless abortions and God bless America!
Bill Cosby says that being declared a sexually violent predator is going to damage his reputation. Not available for comment were all the women that he raped.
Hello, this is Canada.
It doesn't stop here. It's a one-way. It doesn't stop.
Here we go. Keep clinking. Oh, you got it, big bull. Oh, you got it, big bully. I'm recording message. Oh, you got it, big bull.
See that? That means my shoulder's working now. Look at this. I'm getting old. For those who don't know, for those who are not Mug Club members, of course, I fell asleep, woke up with blinding shoulder pain.
Yeah, well, as one does.
And now I'm fine. I still don't know exactly what happened. All right, our next guest, very excited to have our next guest on. Many of you know him, of course, as Larry the Cable Guy. He was telling us off air. Probably pretty sure hopefully you're aware his last name is not actually the Cable Guy. His real name is Dan Whitney. You can follow him on the Twitter at GetOurDoneLarry. Dan, /Larry. I've not done this before. Thank you for being on, sir.
Well, man, thanks for having me. I hope you know I gave up a colonoscopy to do this. So,
Did you?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it too.
Well, I don't know if we can say the same for the practicing physician, but who knows? You might be into some weird stuff. Now, is that dip in your mouth right now, or what is this going on?
Well, I've been on a diet for a while, and I'm a sugarholic, so I try not to eat sugar. So yeah, I put a little Levi Garrett in every now and then, so I don't have to eat sugar.
Okay, all right.
And you know how that'll end up. I'll probably end up eating sugar anyway, and then I won't have any teeth. So there you go.
Right, there you go. Then you just end up addicted to both sugar and nicotine, and the next thing you know, you're going to see it.
It's not that big. I didn't think you could see it was in there.
Well, yeah, I could see it. Yeah, I can see a little. Yeah, I can. Now we can see your pores.
Oh, there.
Matter of fact, I think now I'm just as acquainted with you as a physician. No, our good friend Owen Benjamin actually, he used to dip, and he talked about how then he had to stop because he did a lot of dip. I'm a cigar guy. I'm not necessarily a dip. We didn't really have.
You know what? I'm a cigar guy too. I love cigars. I love Alec Bradley's. I love the Anniversary Padron. But I got to tell you, I quit. I went dead stop. I just quit. And I'm touring with Foxworthy, and we're doing these things called backyard barbecues. It was me and Foxworthy and Foghat and Eddie Money and Marshall Tucker. We had this big thing for our satellite radio show. And man, I was losing weight. I was doing good. As soon as I walked backstage for the first one, the whole counter is donuts, candies, cakes, pies, and I walked right out and I told my tour manager, I said, Beeman, go to the store right now and get me a bag of Levi Garrett. I cannot eat this stuff. I'm doing too good on my diet. And he said, yeah, but you quit, Mr. Whitney. And I said, I know, but I'm just going to do it when I do these things so I won't eat that sugar. So we went and got me a bag, and daggum, I got hooked on it.
I was going to two things I love about that story. First, that Larry the Cable Guy is a diva. And second, that for some reason your tour manager, when you tell the story, sounds like you as Larry the Cable Guy. You give him that character.
Hey, I get confused myself sometimes.
Well, I think it might surprise a lot of. I don't think it surprises a ton of people that listen. Someone from the South leans kind of more center right. Let me ask you this. As a character, Larry the Cable Guy, sometimes it's easier. I know when we do characters here in the show, sometimes you feel invincible because you're like, well, I'm not necessarily saying that. But I think it also surprised some people with some of your tweets recently talking about kind of comedy, the state we're in, the ability to make some cerebral points that maybe people. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not you're not an idiot to play an idiot. I mean, you got to be pretty. Look at Steve Martin. Steve Martin played an idiot. Great. Steve Martin's not a dumb guy. I'm not a dumb guy. I love that style of humor. You know, I grew up in a real small town in southeast Nebraska. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm a country kid. I grew up around livestock. I was a pig. I raised hogs. So it's not like I was living in an apartment in New York or LA and I said, you know how I can make money? I'll turn into a redneck. Right. I mean, that's not the case. I grew up that way. And I moved to Florida when I was 15 years old. And I started doing stand-up in my early 20s. Well, when I moved to Florida, I naturally gravitated to all the Florida cracker kids.
Right.
Because they grew up like I did. They grew up in the lifestyle that I grew up in. And so when I started doing stand-up, it was regular stand-up. I had, in Steve Martin's book, Steve Martin in his book, I remember when he was talking about the process of stand-up, and he says it takes a good 10 years for you to really find out who you are and to be comfortable in what you're doing. And that's what it took for me. You know, I started doing characters and I did all kinds of characters. And then one night I did this cable installer, and it was funny. And I remember after I got done doing it at the Comedy Corner in West Palm Beach that night, David Spade and Rob Schneider were there. And I got done doing the character, and they both came up to me and said, man, that's hilarious. That could be a Saturday Night Live character. You should keep working on that. And of course, as a comic coming up, I'm like, man, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Well, to make a long story short, I don't want to bore you with this whole thing.
No, I'm very interested. I'm still waiting on my 10 years to get comfortable with myself, so we'll talk about that after. But yeah.
Well, some people it happens quicker, but some people it does. Most people. So I started doing the character on a buddy of mine's radio station in Tampa, 95 YNF. Mm-hmm. It was hilarious. It was really popular. Then I got syndicated into some other markets. And Steve, when I tell you this as a fact, I never meant to ever do it on stage. It was theater of the mind.
Yeah.
It was radio. I was always a fan of the show All in the Family.
Sure.
All right. Archie was hilarious. And the show was hilarious.
Well, I understand what you mean. You're experimenting, and then sometimes something kind of becomes your calling card. I mean, for example, I never expected to actually interview Wendy Davis as a tranny on the state capitol. It just happened because she was like, oh, this will be a great photo op. My wig and hat blows off. I'm going, oh, my cover's blown. And it became one of the most iconic moments in all of this program's history. Going, how did you get so close? I'm like, she invited me over. No, but you've had some great tweets lately, kind of because the left has come out and talked about how a right-leaning perspective cannot be funny, or they just don't understand the medium of comedy, which of course I disagree with. Tell us a little bit more about kind of your tweets for people who aren't necessarily in the know, aren't following you, and what your reaction's been.
I definitely will. Can I finish my other thing just real
Yes,
quick?
sorry, go ahead.
So anyway, to make a long story short, a buddy of mine billed me as Dan Whitney, aka Larry the Cable Guy, at his comedy club one night in Florida. And I went on stage and the Larry the Cable, and I was doing fine. I mean, I was a funny comedian, But the Larry stuff just killed. And so he came up to me. I couldn't follow it. I tried to go back into my own act and I couldn't really follow it. People are yelling, get her done, get her done. I get done. I'm signing autographs. I'm taking pictures. And my real name's on the board. It says Dan Whitney, a.k.a. Larry the Cable Guy.
Right.
And people are coming up, boy, Larry, we just love you. We just love you. And so he came up to me and he said, you know what? I'm going to erase your name. And I'm just going to leave Larry the Cable Guy up. He goes, can you do your whole show like that? And I said, look, I talk like that all the time with my buddies because all my buddies are super Southern. So we just talk like that.
Yeah.
So I went on stage the second show and I did my entire show like that. And pretty much the rest is history. I ended up syndicating myself on 27 radio stations across the country. People always say he came out of nowhere. He was an overnight sensation. But that goes back to what Steve Martin said. It takes a good 10 years. I called radio stations 5 days a week, every day for 13 years.
Yeah.
And I developed an audience. And so that's how my career happened. Now, with your question about what I was tweeting out, I always get irritated. Comedy is so subjective. Obviously, it's subjective. It's like soda pop. There's different flavors, and you can like a flavor and not like a flavor. But I always get a little irritated when I see people come just flat out on the internet. First of all, they don't know anything about the business, and they go, there's not one funny conservative. Conservatives just aren't funny.
Yeah.
There's no funny conservative comedians. And even when you present them with facts, and the way I say facts is, here's how you can determine how a comedian is successful by the free market.
Right.
The free market dictates who they think is funny and who they think isn't funny. And if you go by the free market, there's a lot of funny conservative comedians out there.
Sure.
And I even text out, they put out on the internet a few years ago the top 20 selling comedy artists in the history of the SoundScan era. Now, this is factual. These are album sales, concert draws, and the very first line is, the Blue Collar Comedy Tour dominates 10 of the 20 spaces.
Right.
And even when you said, and not only that, Adam Sandler was on there, who's definitely a conservative type comedian.
Sure.
Jerry Clower was on there. So when you look at the facts, obviously there are funny conservative.
Well, I think, and this lends itself kind of what else you were talking about, and where they sort of leverage this. The media right now, you talk about Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime. It's really dominated now. It's become kind of like three main networks again, and they're actively pushing again. They're not going to include a lot of conservatives typically. We've had people on the show who've talked about that. What was this? Just Nanette was a recent special where she said, I'm not going to do jokes because there's nothing funny about being humiliated. I'm like, actually, there's a ton funny about being humiliated. I get humiliated all the time. It depends on how you look at it. The industry is trying to manipulate the free market in a lot of ways. Like Owen, our good friend, we've lost agents and management. How do you view that? And do you think that these gatekeepers are going to go away as we continue down the trail?
Well, I have no idea. I've always just thought that the free market is where you get your reward if you're a comedian. I mean, Jeff Foxworthy told me a long time ago. Jeff taught me so much in stand-up. And, one of the things that Jeff always told me was show business is called show business for a reason. Everybody likes to do the show. Nobody likes to do the business.
Right.
There's a lot of people funnier than me. There's a lot of people funnier than Jeff, but there was nobody better at the business than me and Jeff. And so if you're good at the business, the show part's going to come.
Yeah.
And so I always learned that from Jeff. But Jeff always told me this too. He said, look, he told me right off the bat, he said, don't ever expect to win any kind of award from your peers, because you're already coming out doing a Southern character, and for some reason Hollywood does not like that, and the proof is in the pudding. Because, Jeff has sold more albums than Bill Cosby and Richard Pryor combined.
Plus, he hasn't raped anyone.
and he's never that as well. And he never ever has won a Grammy Award for his albums. I mean, there was nobody even touches Jeff. I mean, Jeff was selling every album he put out. He was selling 2-3 million copies.
Yeah, I know.
He's never won it. So when people say to us, "You're never gonna win anything like that," I always say it doesn't matter. The proof is in the free market.
Right.
And
one thing with comedy that's so like you talk about being subjective, that really is so volatile. I remember when I was doing I don't know if you probably don't remember these NACA conference when I was starting in stand-ups. This is the national.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh, this was a
Carrot Top made a killing.
He did make a killing, and I got murdered. I remember I went out there, and I was Canadian at this point. I was 18, I think, my first NACA, and I've always been inherently conservative, right? I didn't picture myself as a political comedian, but I was always politically incorrect. And I went out and I had some material. I think I had some jokes about Islam, and you could hear the audience get really offended. And I remember I was brought backstage afterwards, like, yeah, you can't do this here at NACA. But I remember someone was telling me at that point, they were talking about how you were the biggest name in comedy. And I heard these, I won't talk about them publicly, but the numbers that you were getting paid for every show. And I was going, oh my God, I couldn't even possibly imagine that. I remember before that was kind of Dane Cook, and then for a while it was, you have Amy Schumer, Kevin Hart, but really when you look at Steve Martin, it does seem like comedians stick around for a very, very long time, obviously, and they have their audiences. Right. But the person who is number one, it's like the heavyweight championship. It's really hard to hang on to that spot. It's usually not more than a year or two, and then they come back around. Is that something for you that was ever difficult to kind of deal with these, like I said, the volatility, the variance there from year to year?
Well, I was always, I liked everybody. Stephen, I've gotten along with, obviously I'm a conservative comedian, but I've gotten along with all sorts of comedians. I'm friends with Lewis Black, and I'm friends with my buddy Tom Ryan's a super lefty, and
sure.
I'm friends with a lot of comedians that I don't agree with, but I'm a guy that loves the craft of comedy. I'm a one-liner comedian. I was a fan of all the old guys coming up, so I do a lot of one-liners. But I'm a fan of the craft, and I'm one of those guys that I may not agree with your politics. Matter of fact, I may hate your politics, and if you have a show, I probably won't watch it. But I find you funny. You do things that are funny because I love the way you constructed the joke. And so I've always been like that.
I'm that way too, except my philosophy is if you want to masturbate in the green room, I'm not going to watch it. That's kind of a hard line for me that I set.
Right. Well, a lot of people have to set certain things.
We have to set certain boundaries, healthy boundaries. Last question, subject on everyone's mind that we, of course, cannot talk about, but it occurred after we originally spoke about you coming on the program. You've been in the national news recently for a story that you probably didn't want to be. When you saw these images, when you read the news, were you surprised?
Well, I was surprised. It made me sad. It made me angry. And, and they said that, and I got to say that they had like a get her done. Somebody put get her done on one of those things that were sent out in the mail. And first, it wasn't spelled right, first of all.
Right.
The guy.
I don't think "get her done" is usually spelled right. So at that point, it's
obviously
tomato.
The guy was not. But it just frustrates me and it irritates me. Whoever does anything like that is pathetic, and they should spend the rest of their life in jail. But my phrase "get her done" has been around. I've been saying it since I had it copyrighted in '91. And it's been used from everybody from Little League baseball teams to football teams to kids in hospitals. I don't know how many times that's been the rallying cry in cancer hospitals for these kids. But it's a great phrase. It's a fun phrase. It's intended to be empowering for people that are in situations. And I'm not going to let anybody hijack that phrase. That phrase. We've raised a lot of money for good off of that.
Right. Don't let that guy appropriate. Okay. We don't want to continue on that because we don't want to give him any more attention than it's worth. But it was the elephant in the outside the envelope that we had to address. It is at Get R Done Larry, Dan Whitney, aka the Cable Guy.
Get her done.
Get her. Well, I know, but people will misspell it. Get R Done Larry. Dan, thanks so much for being here, brother, and be well. Give your wife her phone back, since you stole it for the technology.
Yeah. I'll do it, Stephen. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Take care, and we'll be back after this to wrap this up in a nice ripping.
والله جل مده بالعون والنصر المبين والله جل مده بالعون والنصر المبين
Oh, hello. Thinking of joining Mug Club? Don't. Mug Club is terrible. It's $250.
That's not an accurate price point at all.
No?
No, it's not. I would have thought you'd do better propaganda. I really was hoping for some propaganda. Hopefully you don't pull out the deer knife. But
well, okay. $250, but you get a mug, and that is all.
Yeah, no, you get a lot more than a mug, actually. You not only get the show every single day, but you also get every single show on CRTV. Yeah, the whole catalog.
The whole catalog.
That's not $250. It's $69 for students, veterans, active military at ladderwithcredit.com/mugclub. Yeah.
I'm not a rocket doctor, but that sounds like $250.
It does not sound like $250. It is surprisingly affordable, and it's what allows us to keep doing this show every single day, and things like Change My Mind, Craddock Confronts, all the things that you've come to know and love. But if you don't want them, that's okay. We can just have Mahmoud Al-Mahmoud take over, because I'm pretty sure that he's in a panel somewhere, some kind of a board with Susan Wojcicki. What's she like, by the way?
Who?
ladderwithcredit.com/mugclub.
Steven.
That was called the cocky diver with no tolerance for cold, who didn't realize that there was an undercurrent. If you go back and watch it, you'll understand. It makes perfect sense. It's a long name for a dance. Thank you to Larry the Cable Guy being on the show, and thank you so much to Mahmoud Al-Mahmoud. We actually had to have him escorted by armed security.
Yeah, had to bring him in. It was a whole big deal.
Speaking of armed security, changed my mind. Next week could be live broadcast from TCU on Monday or Tuesday. Was maybe when we're going to go there and show up. Who knows? Who knows? The chalk doesn't lie, but the chalk is very non-specific.
Very vague.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we're not being very vague by saying maybe we'll be descending upon the campus Monday or Tuesday. So a couple of, we are, by the way, we've gone through the Golden Ticket sweepstakes. And I should also say, we're not doing a show the Thursday of Thanksgiving for people before people send their hate mail.
Put that out there.
Don't use this next email that I'm going to release here to send your complaints. We always get that when we talk about, we're hiring. Here's where you send your email. People are like, hey, I think that you should do this. Like, what?
That's not really what it's for.
Like, here's a picture of my penis. And we're like, hold on a second. Are you a Fox News staffer? And it always turns out they are. So we are hiring people right now. This is something that I want to make sure we're very, very specific. So follow these instructions here. This comes to me from Smooth Manny, who is in charge of the edit bay. We're hiring one person right now. Main qualities: expert in Photoshop, also After Effects and Premiere. Needs to be a master at image comp, color correction, particularly something called, I don't know what photo bashing is exactly, but I know that it's a thing you need to know. Obviously, you have to be a fan of the show, familiar with the show, have a congruent sense of humor, timing, and story flow through video editing and creative choices. So the reason we're being very specific here is because a lot of the times people send an email, go, I have no qualifications, I can't do any editing, but I really like the show. Can I work there? It's like, I appreciate it, but we can't necessarily hire you. We will have some PA positions opening up soon, and that's something that if you're less skilled in editing or you're less seasoned, we bring in a lot of people. As a matter of fact, you were effectively a PA when you first came in.
For a while.
And you moved your way up.
I climbed.
Something else, you must be willing to relocate, and soon. If not, don't waste the wonderful staff's time here because they had to relocate. They're in charge of relocating people if you don't happen to be where the studio is located. So if it's like, will I not relocate? Then this probably isn't the position for you. You must be able to work under tight deadlines. I'm steel manning you here, as Owen puts it. This is the most difficult possible scenario because we don't want you to. We have too many. We have like hundreds and hundreds of resumes from the last time. So we're trying to filter this out because we want to find the right person to help the folks there in the edit bay. Tight deadlines, work well with others, be capable of implementing constructive criticism, and listen, work long and hard until the project is done. This isn't the same. It's not like most workplaces. There aren't weekends if a project is not done because people want to kill you. So if all of this still sounds like you, this is what you need to do. You need to send an email to IamYourExpert@louderwithcrowder.com. You are to title your email, I am the expert you seek -2378. The numbers. So again, quote, this is exactly what you said. I am the expert you seek the numbers 2378. Include some sample photoshops or examples of your incredible photo bashing skills along with a resume, reel or portfolio if you're mainly a Photoshop expert, and 3 reasons why you should be hired above everyone else. Failure to do so, failure to do follow any of these instructions will result in immediate dismissal of your submission. So
Courtney will find
it. Will, yes, and Courtney will find
Courtney will.
Courtney was, but it was also very specific. She's like, I don't want to look through 500 more resumes, and if I see another dick pic, I'm like, I'm sorry, Courtney, that you had to go through that.
We should put a filter.
We should put a filter on those.
PA.
Don't
PA,
include any weird images of yourself. Actually, do, but don't send it here. Send those to Courtney specifically.
Slide into the DMs.
So we do have a busy week next week. We have another life advice program that will be occurring in Change My Mind, like we talked about. And this is something actually I had kind of, this is the last segment of the week, which we often, I don't even know. It became, was it Crowder Closes? Is that what it's called?
Closes.
I don't know. It's just something that we've done for a long time. The last segment of the week is kind of an opportunity to talk with you guys and
my favorite
hopefully
part.
offer something a little more earnest that other shows don't necessarily do. This is something actually I asked to have. I have this bookmarked on my computer. And I'm actually going forward now going to have this framed in my office. And it might seem a little dark. It's actually a Daily Beast article. It was at the front page. It was called "The Unmaking of a Conservative Pundit," and it was a hit piece. It was a hit piece. I remember it was Caitlin Dixon wrote it. Caitlin Dixon wrote this. Unmaking of a Conservative Pundit at Daily Beast, one of the biggest news websites at the time. And I remember this is when I learned about journalism too, where things that I thought were off the record ended up being on the record. And this was entirely written to, I don't know why it was written. I was a kid and I had left Fox News. We kind of separated, and it wasn't as looking back, things weren't handled right, and there was a non-compete, which they were right to enforce. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I remember how down I felt, because at that point, all of it, what was written here too, was mostly real. So imagine you're a kid, and someone goes on one of the biggest news websites in the world and writes, "The Unmaking of a Conservative Pundit," just talking about what a failure you've become. I just remember how deeply it stung, and it was something that I didn't really like to talk about for a while. So before this show would have existed, or we were about to cross over the 3 million subscriber mark, it would be something that if anyone even brought up would sting. And I don't really want to talk about that. And that's one thing I will say I appreciate about President Donald Trump, because he has these hit pieces all the time. Doesn't care. He just keeps, I think he's wrong a lot of the time, but he keeps going. Screw them is his philosophy, which sometimes is correct. That's going to be the theme of this Credit Close, is screw them. So I remember actually too, this spurred an argument with my parents, which I think many of you have probably had. I remember my parents talking about, we were talking about God, we were talking about kind of Christian theology, and I'm not a prosperity gospel guy where it's like God wants you to have $1 million in a G7. I don't know if a G7 is a plane or it's a G6. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I remember my parents talking about how good God wanted good things for me, and I was bitter. This was a point in my life I was pretty bitter, and I remember I pointed out all the successful evil people in the world. And not just the Saddam Husseins and the Bin Ladens, but like even the Alec Baldwins of the world. I remember using them as a specific example because sure enough, I just watched The Edge again very recently. And I was like, well, listen, God wants, if you say that good guys end up doing well for them, God wants good things for them. What about the Saddam Husseins? What about Alec Baldwin? He's one of the most successful actors, right? At this point, 30 Rock was really big. He's, Alec Baldwin. We know he's a piece of crap. And my parents, I remember it didn't matter what they said, they wouldn't convince me that I was wrong. But now that I've grown up, I have realized how wrong I was. Because the truth is that you don't really know what somebody else's life is. I don't remember who said this, but ugly things happen in pretty houses. Let me ask you this. Would you trade your life with Alec Baldwin's, I think, what is he, on marriage number 3 now? I believe estranged from his daughter. A lot of these celebrities. How often do you see a starlet who has it all, right? You see this all the time. And we see that envy is, like we talk about, the left is really, they cloak envy as empathy. And I think it's one of the most common human traits. It's the one that we need to guard our heart against. Probably the most is envy. I know certainly myself. I can't speak for anybody else. I know it's something that comes very naturally to be envious. How often do we see someone, I don't know, a starlet or a star, and you're like, oh man, they have it all. And then, well, all of a sudden they go to rehab. Some kind of substance abuse. Or you see the perfect couple, right? How many benefers have there been now? And then bang, domestic abuse, or they get divorced. You don't know what their life is really like. And here's something else. Just as surely, you don't know how your story ends. And at this time, this article, when it was written, I didn't. And the show that you see didn't even exist. The pre-Daily Show, remember #NeverDaily, that didn't even exist. And not only is there something, there's self-doubt that everybody has, but this journalist, I learned the hard way, this journalist, this authority figure was publicly declaring me to be a wash-up. So I have the self-doubt going like, maybe, man, you're 25 and you've peaked. I don't know what you go from. And then someone else is saying, hey, the whole world front page at the, he's peaked. He's done, down for the count. Front page. And what does that do? That creates more self-doubt. And it's a cycle. And yes, this writer sucks. But I just like I can't control exactly what everyone else does with their lives. All I can control, and all you can control is breaking the cycle for yourself. Only you can break that cycle. There's nothing more crushing, I will tell you. That's why I have this here, and that's why I will have it framed in my office, to remind me there's nothing more crushing than having someone else publicly confirm your self-doubt. You can take it to a smaller, maybe I don't know, you're self-conscious about your weight and someone tells you to get on a treadmill, you fat bastard. I had that once in grade school. Not grade school. What's 8th grade here? What is it, junior high? Junior high is, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know the school system. Maybe you have a terrible zit and you go to a party and someone says like, ew, what's that? Is this the costume party? I had that exact thing. I had such a bad zit in my chin. I remember this girl asked me if I fell off my bike. And I said, yeah. And you could see my soul leave my body. You could, if you had an ultra slow-mo cam, you could probably see the moment where my heart broke, snapped in half like Ralph from The Simpsons. It's crushing. It can be absolutely crushing if someone else confirm something you're self-conscious about, something that you have self-doubt about, if you let it. Or you can choose, screw them. Maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe it's deeper than a zit or weight. I'm just trying to kind of ease us into this. Maybe a self-doubt that you think you're undeserving of a good life. Maybe you've achieved something pretty great, and secretly, maybe deep down, you think you're not good enough. And someone comes along and says, man, she's way out of your league. She's not sticking around. A lot of us have encountered, I've encountered that as well. By the way, I won't say they're entirely wrong. You can let it crush you, or you can say, screw them. Maybe you break off from the world's most successful cable news channel, and you're filled with crippling fear and doubt because you don't know the next step. And then maybe a front page journalist declares you dead to the world. You can let it crush you. And for a while I did. I had a pity party. Or you can choose to say, screw them. And you know what? It could happen again tomorrow. I could get banned. We saw this with thank God the YouTube feminist crocodile feeder. I don't know if that's the term, got his channel back. I could get banned tomorrow. Torched. The pitchfork mod could come for us. I know it happens. They could happen. DOA. It'll hurt. But screw them. Make no mistake, right now when everyone else, I think this is why I talk about this so often, when they're calling for civility and they're calling for unity, I'm not. I'm not calling for violence, I'm not calling for rudeness, but I am calling for everyone who's out there who's been silent or who's scared or who's been mocked or intimidated, who's been accused, I don't know, of being a gang rapist. You don't need to hold hands and sing, screw them. You can choose to say screw them. I would say that if someone accused me of being a gang rapist, you don't have to be on board. You don't have to find unity with people whose sole purpose in life is to crush your spirit. And here's why do you say screw them? Because you do need to have wise counsel. We've talked about this a lot. You have people around you who you trust, people who will offer you genuine criticism. So when you're wrong, people will call you on it. But the reason you have that close circle is so that you don't listen to all of the voices that don't matter. And you shouldn't listen to them. Why? Because your story isn't over yet. And here's the thing, everyone out there to some degree or another is great at something. I've talked about that. Find what it is that you're great at doing. You are destined for great things. It may not be what you think is great. It may not even be something that you're anticipating. It may not even be on your radar, but you're destined to do something big. God wants good things for you. Okay, you can say the universe wants good things for you. Your tantric yogi instructor, for all I care, wants good things for you. But the world needs good things from you. I need good things from you. This entire team needs good things from you. And we'll both be damned. All of us be damned to hell if you're going to let somebody else pen your last chapters. I remember this happened and it stung so badly. Picture you're that kid. You're going, man, I don't know what I can do for the rest of my life. I've got 9 months here where I've got to sit and just kind of stew on this decision and hope that I stepped out in faith and hope that it's right. And someone calls up and says, hey, you know what? I'm doing a profile piece on you. Can we talk about some things? Say, oh, yeah, I guess so. Sure. Yeah, this will be off the record. And then the unmaking of a conservative pundit goes on to a news site that you read every single day. That sucks. It sucked, and I keep it there because, you know what? I keep it in front of me, and I read it regularly. You know why? Because I go back to, oh, wait, hold on a second. There was a stage in my life where I thought this person was right, and they weren't. I was letting that person write the next chapter to my life. You don't have to do that. You can choose to let someone else not only dictate the next chapter of your life, not only write the next portion of your book, but you can choose to let someone stop you from writing it yourself. Don't. You can also choose, screw them. That's okay. There's nothing immoral about that. It's certainly not any less virtuous than this idea of unity out there that we try to feign as though we're going to find common ground with people who want us dead, with people who want us completely incapable of seeking gainful employment. People who want the world to think that we're gang rapists. No. I think that you sit down, determine what you want in life, chart a course, make a plan, and if the people don't fit in with that plan, if these people are trying to stop you from reaching your goals, guess what? It's okay for you to say, screw them. That's it. That's the message this week. I'll see you next week. I think it's about Monday or Tuesday. I don't know.